Next, today we will study the 3-bit asynchronous counter with negative edge triggering. Already we have seen the ripple counter or the asynchronous counter in the positive edge triggering. This one we will see the 3-bit asynchronous counter with negative edge triggering. So as I have already said you, how can we distinguish between the positive and the negative edge triggering? By just seeing the figure, you can see here that there is a bubble, whereas in a positive edge triggering there was no bubble, simple a line along with this arrow, and it was the positive edge. You can see here clearly, here is a bubble, here is a bubble, and here is a bubble. So we are having negative edge triggering to all the 3 flip-flops. Here I have used 3 flip-flops, that means n is equal to 3. So what would be the number of possible states? Capital N is equal to 2 to the power n, that is equal to 2 to the power 3, hence that should be 8. So now we will see that by giving the clock pulse what we are getting in the truth table. Okay. So in the first case, I am showing here the clock pulse or the truth table when I am giving the different clock pulse, that is going from 0 to 7, because the maximum value we can have it 8 possible states. So if we start it from 0, then my maximum count will be 7. So in the first case, my clock pulse is 0 and all the values are 0. As I have said, the first flip-flop will be the LSB and the last one will be the MSB. The first flip-flop will be the LSB and the last one will be the MSB. So I have to go in this direction, that as I have written here, Q2, Q1 and Q0. That means this one is Q2, this one is Q2, this one is Q1 and this one is Q0. So I have written in that order. Now when I am giving the first clock pulse, so in the first clock pulse what should happen? It should have, that means I should have a negative edge triggering. Negative edge triggering means what? Negative edge triggering means I should go from 1 to 0. Then only my flip-flop will toggle and there will be transition in the states. So I am giving this, that means I am giving a negative edge triggering to the first one. So 1. Now when I am giving here 1, it is going to the second flip-flop. Now the second flip-flop there will be no change, because it should go from 1 to 0, but here it is going from 0 to 1. So there will be no changes in the second one. As because this is not triggering, so the third one will also not change. So if I write down the values, then only the first one, that means this one is having 1 and the 2 other values are 0 and 0. Now next, when I am giving the next clock pulse, that means my Q0 is equal to 0. When my Q0 is equal to 0, in place of 1, I will go to 0. When I will go to 0, at that time, this is going from negative edge triggering. So 1 to 0 means I will get the clock pulse will be fed here, and this will also change its state. So this will change its state from 0 to 1. So I will give here from 0 to 1. And if this one is 0 to 1, then what about this? It should go from 1 to 0. So there will be no changes here. So the value is 0. Next, for my third clock pulse. For my third clock pulse, I am giving one value here. So when I am giving here one value, then what is happening? I should go from 1 to 0 for negative triggering. That means nothing will go to here. That means there will be no change here. So I am, for the third clock pulse, I have given to the first one, that is 1 value. The second one will remain as it is. So what was the previous one? The previous one was 1. So it is coming here 1. Now let us discuss about the third one. Now here when it is 1, what will happen to this it will be, there will be no change also, because it is not able to trigger this one. So there is also 0 value. Now after that again I am giving here 0. That means I am coming to the fourth clock pulse. In the fourth clock pulse I am giving here 0. The moment I give here 0, at that time what is happening? This is going to toggle. That means the Q1 is going to toggle. Q1 will change its state. Q1, the previous state of Q1 is 1. So it will come to 0. When this will come to 0, that means the Q1 will come to 0. Definitely it is going to toggle the second one. So what was the value of the second, the last one? The last one value was already 0. So now it will become 1. So I have got here 1. Similarly, if I go to the next clock pulse, that means the fifth clock pulse. So the fifth clock pulse is again 1 in this. So when it is 1, what will happen to this one? There will be no change in this one. So it is carrying the previous state. Here it is. And if there is no change in this, therefore there will be no change in this one also. That means the last flip-flop also. So this one is also carried. So this is 1. Now next coming to the sixth clock pulse. When I am giving the sixth clock pulse, I am changing from 1 to 0. Where? In this case. When I am changing it from 1 to 0, that means negative is triggering. So this will be triggered. The second one will be triggered. The second one value will be changed. From where? The previous value was 0. So it will change to 1. So it have changed its state. Now when this is triggered, what will happen to this? I should have 1 to 0, but here I am getting 1. It is not going to 0. It has gone from 0 to 1. So now what will happen to this? There will be no change here. So the value is carried here in 6th. Now the 7th clock pulse. As I had 0 in the previous case, here I am going to have the 1. So when I am giving here 1 clock pulse to this, now what will happen to this? There will be no changes here. Whatever the value was there, that will remain. So 1 was the value of the previous state. So this one will be 1. Now if this is 1, then what is going to be the value of this? There is no change. So this 1 is also coming from the 6th clock pulse. So all the values are at high, that is 1, 1 and 1. Now I am giving the 8th clock pulse. 8th clock pulse means the 0, because here it was 1. When I am giving here 0, then definitely this is going to toggle. When this is going to toggle, the value is going from 1 to 0, from 1 to 0. Now when it is going from 1 to 0, definitely the last one will also trigger. So it is also changing its states from 1 to 0. So again we can see that in the 8th clock pulse, all the 3 values are 0, 0, 0. That means it is in the reset condition.